They taped a red lien notice to my door at 6 in the morning, and the knock sounded like a verdict, like the kind of sound that makes a kid sit up in bed before the sun. 40 days later, I slid a county-stamped deed across a folding table, watched the HOA president's smile collapse, and realized the strip of land they'd been using to threaten me didn't belong to them at all. It belonged to me. If you've ever had a stranger with a clipboard act like they own your piece, you know that feeling in your ribs when the ground finally tilts your way. I'm Mark Rowan from Lake Huron County, Michigan, a civil engineer, a dad who makes hot cocoa with a ridiculous amount of marshmallows, because that's how Lily likes it. I bought a small cabin on Bayes Drive for quiet. Coffee on the dock, the kind of still mornings that patch a person back together. I didn't move here to fight. The first letter came dressed like a neighborly favor. Your fence color is non-compliant. Please repaint within 14 days. I checked the CCNRs like a good citizen, measured the boards because measuring calms me. 6 feet clean, 2-inch gaps, stain matched to the approved palette. I emailed the president Marjorie Clean, accountant hair audit temperament, with photos and page numbers. Her reply landed in minutes. Compliance is subjective, Mr. Rowan. Please trust our judgment. You ever read a sentence and feel your jaw set on its own? Yeah, that happened. Next came anonymous complaints. Trash cans visible, even though they were tucked behind my shed mailbox dimensions, off by ½ an inch. Then, the 6 a.m. knock. Certified envelope, $500 for landscape negligence on exactly 9 square feet of winter burn. Lily asked if we did something bad. I told her no. We're just dealing with people who like power more than neighbors. A week later, the letter with teeth arrived. Failure to remit payment within 30 days may result in lien filing, and my mortgage clause confirmed the nightmare. An HOA can attach a lien that grows clause if you give it time. I went to the meeting in a community hall that smelled like burnt coffee and carpet glue, held a binder because paper is how I breathe when things tighten. I told the board they were fining me for rules that don't exist. Marjorie leaned back with that HOA smirk that says we make reality here. Then, pay under protest and appeal. She said, we'll let you know in 60 days. 60 days was the trick. Drag me past the deadline stack. Interest make the fight too expensive to bother. I nodded left and decided if they wanted a rulebook war, I'd fight in footnotes. So I read every page of the CCNRs, then the county plat maps, then the developer agreements, until the words bled together. Past midnight, I found a line like a loose floorboard, a utility and landscape easement which will be jointly owned by the HOA, and a developer dissolved years ago, rights to devolve to a successor in interest. I checked the registry. Developer gone, assets unclaimed. You know when you spot the crack in the wall and your whole posture changes. That. I called my college friend Jake, now a real estate attorney, who still writes with a pen that leaks. File an assignment of rights, he said. If nobody claimed the developer's interest, you can. If you own that easement, they can't assess you for it, and they can't touch what crosses it without your consent. A retired city planner named Lorna traced the irrigation lines with a red pen and grinned. Their main crosses your easement. Translation: their maintenance fund sits on your doorstep. I filed the paperwork at the county, got a stamp that thunked like a gavel, sent certified notices to the management company, and said nothing to the board. I needed them to overreach on the record. They obliged. The fines kept coming. $250 here, $300 there. Total rounded to a cinematic $5,000, like someone liked a clean number. A board member came by for a courtesy inspection of my irrigation timer, unannounced. A volunteer walked her dog past my shed like a surveillance drone and took photos from 3 angles. Twice in 48 hours, I got wellness checks because a neighbor said I seemed agitated. The officer looked sorry. "Document everything, sir." So I did. Every notice, every timestamp, every picture in a binder labeled "Pattern of Conduct." And it wasn't just me. A veteran got cited for curtain color, an elderly couple for mulch texture. A single mom paid because she thought silence kept roofs on homes. We started swapping paperwork in low voices, and what we saw wasn't random. It was selective enforcement pointed at whoever raised a hand. Then the board tried a special executive session with 2 days' notice, even though the bylaws require 5 for anything touching assessments or liens. I photographed the office clock at 9:01, and the sign on the door went "Home" and waited. The final warning taped to my door set a hearing for July 30th at 10 a.m. I checked my recording laws, one-party consent in Michigan, tested a lapel mic, and organized the binder with tabs that read, "Notice, Response, Proof." I mowed the lawn twice the day before, not because I had to, but because I wanted to rob them of excuses. Morning of the hearing, the community room buzzed, neighbors shifting in their chairs, 2 local reporters pretending not to be excited. A county ombuds officer named Harris, clicking his pen like a metronome. Marjorie went first. List of alleged violations, recited like a grocery list. Mailbox, height, trash visibility. Landscape, negligence. Payment in full, or lien authorization proceeds. I slid my binder across the table and spoke evenly. "Before we discuss payment, please confirm which parcel this lien attaches to." She said my residential parcel, obviously. I turned the page to their own invoices and traced the reference. Parcel 188B, the easement parcel. Then I placed my certified deed on the table, recorded June 18th ownership transferred to me. If you proceed, you'll be filing a lien against land I own, and you build homeowners to maintain property that is not yours to charge for. A quiet ran through the room like a tide. Jake tapped the deed with his pen. "Assessments on property the association doesn't own or control are void." Harris stepped out, verified the deed, and when he came back, everything felt heavier. "Deed is valid," he said. "Actions tied to parcel 118B are paused, pending review." I added the 2-day notice email and the clock photo to the record and read the bylaw requiring 5 days notice. I laid out the pattern, identical conditions, different outcomes depending on who asked questions. That's not compliance, that's control. Harris clicked his pen again and read an order. Lien authorization stayed compliance review, and financial audit initiated administrative supervision in effect until notice rules and assessments are verified. Marjorie stared at the table like it had betrayed her. "You're going to break this community," she said. "Transparency doesn't break anything." I answered. "It just shows what's already cracked." The twist for me wasn't the deed, it was what came after. Neighbors who had been cautious for years showed up at my driveway with manila folders, old minutes, screenshots, receipts. Lorna found term limit language, 2 consecutive years max for any board seat, and Marjorie had been in the chair for 8. Jake discovered utility logs showing irrigation for 24 homes running through a meter on 118B. It wasn't a headline. It was a quiet proof about money moving without right. I didn't want a bonfire. I wanted a blueprint. I drafted reforms at my kitchen table while Lily colored next to me, term limits, open meetings with real notice, posted recordings, annual external audits, an independent resident ethics panel with veto power over big fines, refunds of unlawful assessments, a simple appeals process that doesn't root back to the same people who write the tickets. You know what I mean. If you don't change the structure, the story resets next season. The final session 2 weeks later felt like the air before a thunderstorm. Cameras on tripods, neighbors standing in back, Harris calm at the front. I put down a single folder, deed invoices, photos, the 2-day notice, utility maps, receipts. Harris asked 3 clarifying questions, clicked his pen, and read what I'd been walking toward since the 6 a.m. knock. Effective immediately, the Bayest HOA is placed under extended administrative supervision, pending completion of audit and bylaws reforms. Any action tied to Parcel 118B is void as of the recorded transfer date. President Clean is suspended from office. No cheering. Just exhale. Marjorie didn't look at me. She looked like someone who had mistaken control for safety for so long that she forgot where the line was. I didn't gloat. I just put a hand on my binder and felt my pulse slow down because gravity had finally decided to act like itself. That's where the story ends for tonight. Not with fireworks, but with a stamped order and a room learning how to breathe like neighbors again. The reforms moved forward because enough people were exhausted enough to try something better. And if you're wondering whether I forgave her, I'm still deciding. Maybe that's not even the point. Maybe the point is that sunlight and paper can fix what yelling never will. So tell me this in the comments. Where should an HOA's power end? When a board turns standards into a weapon? Should they just lose the seat or face legal consequences too? What's the line between keeping a neighborhood tidy and turning it into a toll booth? If you've lived a version of this, I want to hear it. State County. The fine that made you say enough. Drop it below